Oh yeah, TJ Nation fam, what is up? What is happening? We are back at it yet again, and this time for some postseason ball. You know it. It's the DJ Nation podcast powered by the Fantasy Authority. You can follow the Fantasy Authority on Twitter and X at FF_authority. We're here breaking down the NFL DFS wildcard picks. Ryan Williams here at Ryan Alexander_W on Twitter and X, and the Godfather himself, Mr. Kevin Steele. You already know what it is at Fantasy Wrath 13 on Twitter and X. Kev, we took a week off for the people, but we're back at it to do some wild card NFL DFS. I'm excited to get back in the lab with you, brother. But how you feeling? How you doing? We're breaking down this from a 6-game perspective, right? We usually should have probably talked about that ahead, but I missed the days when it was just a 6-game slate, but it was 2 days. Now we got a 6-game slate over 3 days. We got some we got a wild way to start the slate on Saturday as well too. So it's going to be a fun one to break down. But Kev, talk to the people. How you doing tonight?
Doing good, doing good. I will say it's weird that I had the Chiefs in it for the first time in forever. But
Yeah.
you can't get there every year. But it is what it is on that. But I will say there's a lot of really good games this weekend. As far as it being 3 days, like I don't think there's gonna be a lot of people playing people from the Texans and Steelers game. So like it does feel more like a 2 day slate. Um, because that last game feels kind of gross. But
Yeah.
overall, there's some really good games. I mean, I think the Jaguars and Bills game is probably going to be the one that everyone's going to be attracted to because it has the highest total. You have Josh Allen on that side. You have Trevor Lawrence and how well that offense has been playing. Two defenses that aren't great. Like they're not bad, but they're not like elite defenses that we have on some of these other games. And then I think the Eagles and 49ers game is probably the other one that I think people are going to look to attack. But I think those two games stand out. But I think there's some other places you can get to as well.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's gonna be. This is a weird one, Kev. Like, I'm really excited for this postseason. You kind of alluded to it. I mean, no, this is no Patrick Mahomes. This is no Tom Brady. No Peyton Manning since 1998. Like, I feel like we're just coming into a different era of football. I guess new regime, and I really have no idea. Like I don't know. I mean, I have some preseason like picks. I think I have like a Buffalo Bills 49ers like ticket that's still alive for the Super Bowl, but like don't really feel good about either of those teams right now. Like it really feels wide open. So I'm really excited to see like how this plays out. Cause even with like the number one seeds, who aren't on the slate, like I don't know, what's gonna happen with them. And if I feel really confident about who a winner would be. So, I'm really excited to see how this is. We do have some injuries that, might affect the slate a little bit, but, for the most part, I think, these teams are trying to be full systems go. So we got that 6-game slate. As you alluded to, Kev, 2 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday, and that Monday night hammer. I think there will be exposure from the defensive side of the ball, at least from that late night hammer. Everybody always wants to see some PMR, see some see some stuff remaining, make pivots, and see how he goes. But Kev, let's just dive right in and break it down for the people. It's funny that they decided to start with the Rams, a Carolina game just to kick off Saturday football. It always felt like, the Houston Texans belong in that spot on wild card weekend. Like I just always felt like the Saturday game, first game was going to be Houston or going to be the Chargers. But it doesn't happen that way. And we have a lot more viewing options, right, for the people, all the streaming options and now that are affected and kind of change things up of who's going to get what matchup. But the Rams with their team total coming in at 29.4 and they start the slate off. Like I just am trying to figure out how high owned these Rams pieces are going to be, because this is a tale of oldest time. Like we talk about it with the Houston teams in the past. Like, do you start out, how do you start out the slate? Are you going to start out and say, okay, 6-game slate's done. I'm just playing Showdown on Saturday night, and I'm playing the Sunday slate, and I'll just roll on to Monday because you know that your teams are dead. But like you really could have you could have some solid teams start off the bat if the Rams are able, to do what they've been doing, and they're going to get Devontae Adams back. Like Matthew Stafford is just like he's just been on a tear. I mean, he's probably going to get the MVP, right? Like Sean McVay has made it such a point in the regular season to like have them force feed these receivers and just do everything in the offense. And this is a Carolina team. They're going against a Carolina team that I expect them to want to get revenge on. That game was insane when these two teams matched up in the regular season. A lot of red zone blunders for the Rams, weren't able to capitalize. And just one of the weeks that people just died in survivor pools because thought it was a gimme. So they're opening up here on the road. I think Matthew Stafford definitely is in conversation right at 6,900. Like you definitely have to make a consideration if you're going to fade or choose them. And then, as we look through the rest of the slate, Kev, I wish, these matchups are just so weird. Like I do like some of these teams, but it's like, how much do I like them in order to like stack them up? Like the next guy would probably be, Josh Allen that we talk about. He's 7K, but he's going against Jacksonville. Like Jacksonville has actually been hot. Like, do I want to play Josh Allen, who I don't know who to stack him with necessarily? Or do I want to play Trevor Lawrence on one of the, hottest teams in the NFL from an offensive standpoint with what Liam Cohen's been going, and this defense for Buffalo doesn't scare you at all. You know who the stacking partners are pretty much with Trevor Lawrence, who make it fun to, build teams around. It's also pretty decent matchup for the running back, which we'll talk about later. But Trevor Lawrence is definitely one who I have circled. I think, the other game that's going to be intriguing to me is probably this Philadelphia and San Francisco game. I mean, the way you'd probably want to play it would be Jalen Hurts at 6,300 because of how explosive this Philly offense can be. They've just teetered so many times through the course of the season. But I mean, AJ Brown finds himself in a good spot. Devonta Smith finds himself in a good spot. Dallas Goedert's been coming on as of late. Like this Philly offense could really get going. They're just under 26 implied points there. Brock Purdy on the other side. I know a lot was made of him. I'm curious to see how the feed treats him. Trent Williams is going to be out. San Francisco, they lay an egg, basically against Seattle to end the season, on a slate where, from a DFS standpoint, right, Kev, like San Francisco, that game was so highly targeted and it just disappointed. So, people were left in the dust if you kind of attack this offense, and now they're going against Vic Fangio and company. Like, it could be tough sledding for the 49ers. So I'm interested in that game, but probably, from a one-sided approach. Kev, I'll toss it to you because I do feel like, I do want to play around. It's a 6-game slate, right? This isn't like the Thanksgiving slate or the Christmas slate where, we do have multiple areas to choose from. I do want to look at the two other games of Green Bay, Chicago, and the Chargers and New England. I think that the Chargers and New England game is really sneaky to me. If Herbert's hand is not going to bother him or hinder him as such, I really think that we could potentially see fireworks in that one. I think two coaches on the other side who tend to be a little bit conservative, but it's a wild card matchup. So maybe we see them get a little more aggressive in this spot. I think there's really interesting pieces on both sides from a playmaking standpoint that people won't be on. I like that game from a GPP perspective. And then, the weather is going to keep, I'm curious to see where ownership comes in on Green Bay and Chicago, because I think there's going to be one extremely chalky piece from that game at the running back position. I think it does set up well for, the running backs on the other side for Chicago. But, I mean, Caleb and Jordan Love, if you can get the stack partner right, they could really pay off their salaries at 5,300 and 5,600, on this slate. If we don't, have if we don't have Josh Allen and Matthew Stafford going bananas, like you could, you just want to, hit on that guy. So I haven't really figured out the slate yet. I do think that my two if I was doing three max as I normally do in the season, Kev, I think it would definitely be, getting to Stafford, getting to Jalen Hurts for sure on two teams. And then I'm probably going to play around with that third team of like, do I like, a Chargers, New England, or Green Bay and Bears build on that third build and see what plugs in. How are you attacking this slate from the quarterback position, Kev, and what are you liking?
Well, I think, like I said, I mean, I think there's a couple different thoughts here on a way to attack it because I know, I mean, it's 6 games, there's a little bit more than your typical, 2 or 3 gamer. But at the same time, I feel like there's also game environments you can kind of cross off, right? Like I feel like Steelers and Texans, the Texans
Yeah.
defense is just so incredibly good. I just don't see the Steelers being able to do a lot in that game. And so, like that game, like I'm not saying like you couldn't get any pieces from it, but I think overall, I think maybe trying to find like two of your favorite games is like really overstacking. Those games might be the way to go on a slate like this because we're going to see a lot of ownership come in on pretty much a couple different spots, right? Right now, ownership looks like Josh Allen is hovering around 45% ownership at his cost at 7K. And
That's
then,
crazy.
for
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts as, the second guy at 22%. Then everybody else is pretty much 10% or below on this slate. And so I think there's some different ways to go. We'll have to see, how ownership looks from there. But like I've said, I think Stafford is so interesting because it's a little bit tougher because he is expensive. He's 6,900, but Stafford has been really good this year. I mean, he leads the league in passing yards this year, has a ridiculous 7.7% touchdown rate. And, for context, he's now thrown 2 or more touchdowns in 15 of 17 games this year. And he's thrown
Yeah.
3 touchdowns in 9 of those 17 games. And so it's also, when it comes to him, it's easier to be able to get him right in terms of stacking partners, where a lot of these quarterbacks, it's not that simple. Like Josh Allen, do you just play him naked? Because generally speaking, he doesn't really take anybody with him. You don't really have a lot of guys that go off when he gets there. Generally, whenever Josh Allen gets there, it's it's on the ground. The guy has
Mhm.
14 rushing touchdowns this year. Generally speaking, if he's going to have a nuclear game, it's usually because he's spreading the ball around and he's getting there on the ground. And so then when you have someone like Trevor Lawrence, it's kind of the same thing. He has 9 rushing touchdowns this year. He's really come on in that department. And, we've seen time and time again, he generally doesn't bring a lot of players with him and along with him. And so, like, if you're looking to stack that game, it also makes it a little bit tougher to stack because who you stacking them with. And so a lot of these games are like that, like where it's much tougher, where Stafford, it's pretty cut and dry. You're going to stack, if you're going to stack him, it's going to be with Puka, it's going to be with Devontae Adams. You might get a little bit cute and throw in like a Tyler Higbee or something like that. But overall, like it's a much easier stack to get to. Now, and also, like it is a great matchup for Stafford because Carolina does play cover 3 at the highest rate in the league, nearly 50% of the time. And he has absolutely shredded cover 3, and so is Puka Nacua. And so I will
Mhm.
say when it comes to that, like it stands out as a good play there. And so, but it is more expensive to get to Stafford. But right now, Stafford's not carrying any ownership going into this weekend. And I do think that's a little bit of a mistake because this passing offense, can easily get there. And Stafford can easily put up, 28 to 30 points and have a score that you absolutely need.
Oh yeah. No,
So
I
I
yeah.
think things start with him, in my opinion.
100%, Kevin. And that's what makes it so fun for the 6 game slate is like, you play them and then you see how many people have them and what you need to get right. Because, if he goes out and, he gets 30, right? He's bringing somebody along with him. You guess right. You're feeling really good. Like we don't need to necessarily like we have 6 games and it's going to elude for so many people to think about so many different options and I want to get this player on the team or this player I don't want to miss out on, but it's like no, just go for the offense that you think is going to put up, and chances are like we're not going to get many offenses putting up 30 this weekend. I know what the implied team totals are saying, but like these teams are in it for a reason. They're pretty evenly matched. Like I would be I would be shocked if we had more than 4 teams go over 30 points this week, Cap, like that, in my opinion. So, like, if I'm thinking from that standpoint, like, I just want to target the offenses that I feel are going to do that. And the Rams clearly are one of that. And when you think about it, Kev, it's like when you have 6 teams, right? We have these options, or 6 games, 12 teams. People are, if you go out and get, whatever it is, 100-point plus from, the three expensive guys for the Rams, who cares? Like, then you're just figuring out the rest of your team. Like, you already have 100 points. You're set up for success. You're probably going to have some of the highest scorers on the slate, and who is going to be targeting all these high priced guys, right? So, don't think about, not overstacking still on a 6 game slate. I still think like those could be, onsets could still be the way to bring it home for sure. And like you said, the target share is what it is. I think it gets interesting a little bit with the tight end position. That's been a little bit annoying. I think Ferguson's going to be active maybe, but and Higbee's in there, but Parkinson's what he's been doing. But as long as if you get Stafford throwing for 3, 4, 5 touchdowns, you're going to feel good about it with the 2 primary guys. Where else are you looking, Kev?
Yeah, so I think like talking through some of these other game environments, like for example, like the New England and Chargers game. I I don't know what we're to really make of that game because like one, the Chargers defense, I don't think gets enough respect. Like
Mhm.
their defense has been phenomenal this year. Like they are the
Yeah.
reason that this team
I
is in the playoffs right now, in my opinion. With all the issues that the Chargers have had with their offensive line and injuries they've had, to Marion Hampton at times, and like everything that's went wrong, like it's been their defense that's kept them in it.
yeah.
And like their defense does, like I said, they
It
allow the second fewest fantasy points per game or DraftKings points per game to opposing quarterbacks this year. They've allowed the second fewest, and honestly, like the the Patriots really, and I know there's the narrative, and I'm not saying I think the Patriots are like frauds or anything like that, but like they really haven't been tested against many like great defenses this year. They have had the easiest schedule in the league this year, and so like you do wonder against a defense like this, like can they get going? I feel like that you're going to see the Patriots try to keep the ball on the ground and try to run the ball a lot, and use play action and stuff like that against this Chargers team. And so we'll see on that, like how. But I think that game could go under and doesn't really get there from a fantasy perspective, per se. And then I think that looking at some of these other games, I look at one game that does worry me is the Eagles and 49ers game is another one
Mhm.
because we know that like our Brock Purdy, if we haven't figured it out by now, like if you can get pressure on Brock Purdy, he is going to have trouble because it's time and time again. Like he is that guy. Like if you get pressure on Brock Purdy, he is going to fold. And that's what worries me because this Philadelphia defense also has been incredible, especially recently. I think over their last 5 games, they've allowed the second fewest schedule adjusted fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. Like this defense has been really good. And, you are going to have some pieces missing from this 49ers team. This team is extremely banged up. Like, it feels like a game where Philadelphia could really just manage this on the ground. Saquon gets there, and, they don't really have to open up the offense as much. They lean on the defense. And so, like, you start talking through some of these spots here. Like, I think it's a little bit easier to narrow some of this down a little bit because, like, where I think at the end of the day, I think Jacksonville in that Buffalo game has probably the highest rate of getting there. I will say that
Yeah.
because Buffalo's defense has struggled a lot on the ground. They can be had through the air. Jacksonville's defense, if you look over the last 5 games, it's going to look, you're like, oh man, this defense has been awesome. But if you look at the teams they played, they really haven't played any great offenses through that. And so, like, I think this game could be the one that sets up to really go off. The weather is phenomenal. It's supposed to be like 5 mile an hour winds, 70 degrees, sunny. It's at noon, and so like you're not going to have to worry about anything with that. But I think that game sets up really well. But the one that I think could get sneaky is Green Bay Chicago because I know this is the third time these two teams have faced each other this year, but Chicago's defense is bad. Like it is not good. They cannot get a pass rush to save their life. They give up explosives all over the field, and that sets up really well for what Green Bay does well. Green Bay wants to run the ball. Josh Jacobs is finally healthy. Josh Jacobs this week said that this is the best his knee has felt in weeks. They gave him the time off. He's barely played at all over the last month of the season, so he should
Mhm.
be ready to go. And then you have Christian Watson, who I think is an incredible play. But Jordan Love, has these games where he can just go off and get super and go nuclear. And so I think that Jordan Love, Christian Watson. I also think on the other side of that game though, because Green Bay also struggles to get a pass rush, especially since losing Michael Parsons. And so, like, this game could end up getting there because these two defenses, I think, aren't really great. And I think these two teams could attack the way that they want. And I think either side of this game could really go off. And I think this game could have that sneaky upside to go off. I know there's a concern with the weather in this game. It doesn't look like it's right now. It looks like it's going to be that crazy. It looks like wind is going to be the bigger issue. It looks like there might be a few slow showers, flurries in the area, but they're saying 15-mile-an-hour sustained winds. As long as it stays there, I'm
Mhm.
okay with still targeting the passing attack. There is going to be 30-mile-an-hour gusts. They do say later in the game you get up to 35 to 40-mile-an-hour gusts, but I have to see on that. But other than that, part of that, I think that game has the potential to really be sneaky. Nobody's really playing it outside of Josh Jacobs. Everybody's going all in on Josh Jacobs, which makes sense because of the usage. But I also think the Chicago side, especially their rushing attack. I know we're talking about the quarterbacks, but that
Yeah.
Chicago side, their running backs, the Packers have really fallen off a cliff in terms of their run defense recently as well. And so I think there's a lot of avenues here in this Green Bay Chicago game that we could get to.
Yeah, I mean the running backs I mean, I guess all across the board, right? Like Josh Jacobs being 6,300, I get it. He's just pulling in so much popularity right now that not that it caused for concern. I think that's one of the more I usually lean in most to the running back chalk, but just on a 6 game slate, I do think there are some substantial pivots to be able to get to. But yeah, I think people are sleeping on the Chicago side. I mean, Ben Johnson has said it time and time again. There is nothing that they can do without that run game getting established. And I think he wants that. He wants to be able to add in the play action. He wants to be able to scheme up these things once they're able to get it going. So and Swift had some success in this matchup during the regular season. It's always weird when these teams face each other now for the third time in the regular season. So we'll see what happens. But I mean, even on the Green Bay side, Kev, like I really think that we start to see, I think Dontavian Wicks is on the report, right? Matthew Golden has not been able to be trusted. And Jaden Reed's 4K. Like, he probably gets one of the better matchups. Christian Watson, we know what he can do. And Romeo Dobbs seems to have a rapport with him. All these guys are like very affordable. So the Packers side of it looks really, really nice to be able to stack up and still be able to get some of these high price pieces on a roster if this game does go over like 50 points or plus in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, they're both cheap too. I mean, Jordan Love's 5,300, Caleb Williams 5,600. Thing you
Right.
like about Caleb Williams too, he does offer something on the ground. He offers something with his legs. Like, I mean, he's not going to be out there like Josh Allen racking up huge yardage totals, but he can still get there and give
For
you maybe
sure.
30, 40 rushing yards. I think that's in the range of outcomes for him. And so both those guys, in terms of like cheaper stacks, I think is if you're and especially if you're wanting to pay up for some of the high price studs like Puka, like a Christian McCaffrey or something like that. James Cook, whatever, you're going to, I think makes it a lot easier if you can get there with, Caleb Williams or a Jordan Love. And I think both of them can. Now, the only thing with Caleb Williams now is going to be now that Roma Dunze is back included, is going to be playing this game because, in terms of stacking him, obviously Colston Loveland went off last week, went absolutely nuclear for them last week in that game where they lost to the Lions. Uh, um, but I think it makes it a little bit tougher to try to trust who you're going to stack him with. And I think, same thing with probably Jordan Love as well. It's probably not as much of an extent, but there still is enough there. But if I was stacking Jordan
Mhm.
Love, I would definitely go with Christian Watson. Would definitely be included in that. I think you could probably talk me into a Jaden Reed or a Romeo Dobbs who's involved once they get to the red zone. But in
Yeah.
terms of Caleb Williams, it becomes a little bit tougher because now you have Roma Dunze who's back. You have Colston Loveland. You have Luther Burden who is getting involved. DJ Moore, looks like he's going to be good to go for this game. So it makes it a little bit tougher to trust who to
Yeah.
stack whenever if you're gonna play Caleb.
Yeah, it does. It does for sure. That's what I think the running backs are probably my preferred route to go. But Caleb, if we get to game, I mean, Rome is. I'm not even factoring in Rome to be honest this week, Kev. I mean, he's already he's been out there saying that like if this wasn't a playoff game, he probably wouldn't be playing. But because it is, he's going to be active. Like he's dealing with a stress factor. I don't know how healthy he's going to be. And Olamide Zaccheaus is basically out of the rotation too. DJ Moore, so this is my long way of saying, like, I still think Burden 4,600, that our boy Mizzou, shout out, like he's definitely in play. I think they're definitely going to try and scheme him work 2 weeks removed from what seemed to be like an injury scare that he avoided. Colson Loveland is just the dude. He's just that dude. Like you can play him with Caleb, you can play him without Caleb. He's cheap enough. He's honestly way too cheap for his role that he has at 4,400. So I think he's in play. I think it's a little bit more surefire than we might think, but I would probably lean Swift first though to get my exposure to that side. Yeah, I mean, Kev, I'm gonna have to do something with this Chargers team. Like I'm probably gonna bet the money line on this game. Like I agree with you on that defense wholeheartedly. Like this is just like not a team I don't think New England wanted to see in the first round. It's always weird when this team travels, but Herbert's been in these positions before. They got a solid coach. I'm really intrigued by that game. So I think it could be sneaky, but we will see. Let's talk about running back, Kev, and what we're.
I don't feel like we nailed it down. Just really quick. Who are your top 3 plays? Like who are the top 3 guys that right now that you want to play?
Yeah, I think for me, it's. I mean, I can't. Like I said, I'll take it from a 3-max standpoint where I have to have exposure to Rams through Stafford. I definitely want exposure, probably to the Eagles with the way the 49ers defense has been shaping up, and then probably. You know how it is for me, Kev. Like I would like to go with a cheap guy. It would probably be. Honestly, it would be either. I would look to see what I could do with Caleb or Jordan Love first, or just go to a Josh Allen team. But I think for me, like I really want to start with the Rams and the Eagles side of the football. I think they have clear paths to get to 30 with their quarterbacks. I think from the other sides, I could see other pieces coming to fruition, but not necessarily the quarterback breaking the sleigh. Although maybe we get that with Lawrence. I don't know. But I know for sure that I want Matthew Stafford and Jalen Hurts first and foremost. How about you?
Yeah, Stafford's going to be probably number 1 for me. I think a close second is probably Josh Allen. But understand that with Josh Allen, you're riding right into 40-50% ownership. And I think projection-wise, like he does project the best and by almost 2 points right now. But like there's 4 other quarterbacks that are right behind him. And so like I don't think he's a clear cut like 100%. And as we know, like if you need Super Josh to pay off that price, and for him to get there, like you need the Jaguars to get an early lead in that game and push Josh Allen to have to go and put the team on his back. But still, the upside is there. I think 3 for me. My favorite pay down option is Jordan Love. I just think the matchup is great, and it's a cheap stack to get to. And it allows you to kind of play everything else and pay up for a lot of the studs on the slate. But I think he kind of unlocks a lot of things. Like I think Stroud is interesting because Pittsburgh's. I know we didn't talk about him, but like Pittsburgh's pass defense has been dreadful. But my only issue with Stroud has really been like his home road splits are stark. Like on the road, like he is not very good. He has not been very good through his entire career. Like when I want to play Stroud, it's at home. But I will say the matchup is really good because the Steelers have really, really struggled this year, especially recently against the pass. And we just saw last week, Lamar Jackson hit Zay Flowers on 2 deep balls. That is something they've really struggled with all year. And, they have the players do it. But I just don't love the spot. I don't love the matchup. I don't think they really have to do enough to get there to Stroud. So Jordan Love would be number 3 for me. But now we can move over to running backs. I just want to clarify a little bit.
No, I think you answered it for me, Kev, which is why, I'll say it this way and we'll go to running back. Is my 3rd would probably be Lawrence. If one, you like it, right? Because it's like they're at home, they've been explosive. So like it could just be Lawrence again against his defense doing it. if the Bills go, if Josh Allen's going out there and getting 30, I like Lawrence's chances to be able to push the pace as well too. And he's been having some sneaky rushing upside, over the second half of the season too. So yeah, Lawrence for me would probably be third. I do like getting exposure to the Jacksonville offense, so that would be that. And then as we go to running back, right, Kev? I think if my bring back on that side would be James Cook. James Cook, the rushing leader, for the league, even though really kind of teetered off there for the last two games, but he's been so explosive. Probably not one of the Jaguars defense is pretty solid, but everything just flows so much through James Cook. I think the Jacksonville defense has a propensity to give up some work to running backs right through the air. So if we can get some catches out of the backfield with his rushing workload, and like he'll be the dude at 7,400. I like that a lot. Like I've already talked about, like my exposure from the Chicago Green Bay game is going to be through the running backs. I'm not going to come in at whatever the 50% projected ownership that Josh Jacobs is going to see, or 48%. Like I'm just not going to get there. But I do like having some exposure to him. But on the other side, I think my clear pivot would be DeAndre Swift in that same game. I think he definitely will be swept on for people. I do like Saquon a lot as well too. On that Jalen Hurts team, I might just play him and Saquon. Like we've seen in the past where they could both get going. Like I think against this 49ers defense, like anybody can get going with the injuries that they have. So definitely interested in him. If I needed the salary relief, I might look at a Kyle Manun guy, although he hasn't been seeing the work that you would want to see. But if you need on the team where I'm overstacking the Rams, right, Kev, if I need a cheaper option who I'm just like saying go out and get me 12 to 15, score a touchdown, Manun guy could be that piece. So I think he still definitely has a role in the offense, so I'd be willing to get to him. And then my GPP on the whole slate, Kev, is Kyron Williams. I never really get on this guy. He's kind of like my Achilles heel from a DFS standpoint. If I play him, he never does well, and every time I feel like I can miss out on him. But because this is the first game of the slate, and because how apt so many people are going to be to target this Rams offense, like we've seen this happen before, where they get down into the red zone and they just end up giving this dude the ball. And if they are handling business against this Carolina team, like on the road, and are maybe look ahead, I mean, that could maybe affect Kyron, where Blake Corum could become like an ultimate GPP play. But I think on the grand scheme of things, this team's implied to score 30 points. Like the running backs, people aren't getting to the running back. Like this is one of those plays that we would always look at and be like, why do we not just think about playing Kyron, who has the ability to go 102 on any slate that he is? He's only 6,400, and I just think he provides ultimate leverage against this one passing attack that could end up being more popular than not. And how many people are then going to have that pivot on the other side with like a Kyron and Rams D even, just to lock those two in. So that's what I'm looking at from the running back position. On my end, Kev, pretty straightforward for me. What say you at the running back position? What are you doing?
I actually agree with you. I think Kyron is kind of a sneaky play. No one's getting to him right now. He's carrying no ownership, and it is a little bit, obviously because of the Blake Corum stuff when it
Yeah.
comes to Kyron Williams. But since week 9, Kyron has been the lead back, handling 63% of the snaps, only 51% of the rush attempts, with a 7% target share. Obviously, none of those things are great. Blake Corum has been played 33% of the snaps, 37% of the rush attempts, but has been a non-factor in the passing game. And so, I mean, the passing game still does go to Kyron, but they just don't really look to target him like that. Um, so I do think that he probably has a limited ceiling too. He's only surpassed 17 DraftKings points 3 times all year, but I definitely think that this can still be an optimal spot.
Mhm.
The Panthers have really started to fall off, over the last month and a half of the season against the run. And so like Hiron does, I think, is nice leverage, and just nobody's getting him to him right now. He's 6,400, and so he's not overly expensive. And I think he's really good leverage off Josh Jacobs right now, because Josh Jacobs, like you said,
Yeah.
is definitely the main chalk. at running back right now, or one of the highest chalky running backs on the slate right now. Christian McCaffrey is obviously the highest, looking to be the highest right now. Um,
Yeah.
but so I definitely think that he is in play. I think he's a really solid play at cost. I think there's some other spots though, like one Travis Etienne. I know that Bashaw Tootin came back last week, but one area that Buffalo really has struggled all year has been against the run. Like they have really struggled to stop opposing running backs. Travis Etienne's only 6,600, so again, not overly expensive to get up to him. So I think Travis Etienne. I think a really big question mark right now is this Patriots backfield because you know we continually see everybody flock to Travion Henderson, and I'm not saying Travion Henderson necessarily is a bad play, but it's been kind of a weird role for him recently where he's just been utilized on the ground and hasn't been utilized at all through the air. I mean, he's seen one target over his last 3 games, 4 targets since their Week 14 bye, and it's been Ramondre actually who has
Mhm.
been getting this work. Ramondre is running, over the since Week 13. Ramondre is running 60% of the routes and with an 11% target share right now in this backfield. And he has outproduced Travion Henderson. He's averaging 20 DraftKings points per game compared to just 13 DraftKings points per game for Travion Henderson. So it's not been bad for Henderson. But I mean, Ramondre has really been getting there. He's also Ramondre has played 61% of the snaps, and 40% compared to 40% for Travion Henderson. And everybody's playing, Travion Henderson, and nobody's playing Ramondre, who's 5,800. So again, it's not necessarily the best matchup against the Chargers, but there has been times this year where the Chargers have struggled to stop the run. And so, 5,800 Ramondre, I don't mind that. I think he's nice leverage off of Travion Henderson. Kenny Gainwell, like I think the way you get to him at 5,900 right now, I don't think a lot of people are going to want to play him. And to be honest, like what is Aaron Rodgers going to want to do? He's going to want to get the ball out of his hands very, very quickly. He is not going to hold the ball at all, especially against this pass rush for the Texans. And I think you see, even with DK Metcalf back, I think you see a lot of check down, and receiving work for Kenneth Gainwell. Like he has been that guy. Like
Yeah.
he has been absolutely peppered with targets, especially over the last like 8 weeks of the season. The dude's just been seeing incredible workload in the passing game, and he's 5,900 right now. And so, I don't know if it's a spot where he's going to go out and give you, 20 plus DraftKings points, but I think at 5,900, he could be a player that can give you, 15 to 18 because of his pass catching upside that he provides. And so I do like him at 5,900. And then I agree with you. I think DeAndre Swift, there is some worry like with this because the workload that the Kyle Monangai sees as well. That does how much does he lose to him? Where that can be tricky. But he's still the RB1 in this backfield. He's
Mhm.
basically 56% of the snaps for Swift, 45% of the rush attempts. Really, I mean, in terms of routes, he runs 44% of the routes, but has only seen a 5% target share over the last 6 games, where Monangai has seen a 6% target share while only running 30% of the routes, but he only sees about 40% of the rush attempts. So it can be a little bit, scary playing somebody like DeAndre Swift because of the usage. But I think the matchups there, Green Bay has been really bad against the run over the last month of the season. So I think getting to the Bears backfield, I think, is also a really good play.
Yeah, no, yeah, I mean, it can't be more cut and dry for me at the running back position this week. I didn't talk about him, but Christian McCaffrey, 8,500. I definitely will try and get to some. It's Christian McCaffrey, but I think there are some of these mid range plays that do stand out, and I most likely will be paying up at wide receiver in some way, shape, or form to get the Rams guys in or get heavy mid range there. So I'll have to see how it shapes out. But yeah, on the team that I have Jalen Hurts on, I would like to get exposure to San Francisco through Christian McCaffrey. So I'll probably have a share of him at least, but not a starting point for me this week.
And as far as the top guys go, like James Cook, is that your favorite in terms of the
Yeah,
top?
yeah, I think so. I think I could see myself getting to James Cook like outside of a Trevor Lawrence stack, and really just making him, a pillar. I think, I think for me, it's like if I'm not playing I might have 2 Kyron teams, Kev. Like, if I'm doing 3 max and I have a Matthew Stafford team, I most likely will not play Kyron on that team. I just don't think it really makes sense for to do that full on slot, but that might be like a Saturday only play. But, on the 6-game slate, I have Matthew Stafford with the passing attack, and then if I don't have him, I'd probably look to get to Kyron first because I just think that, like, that offense is going to put up. If they don't, they don't. It is what it is, but, like, some way, shape, or form, I want exposure to the Rams, and if it's not through Stafford, I'll look to get it through other ways. Um, but yeah, James Cook, I think, is that next play for me, high price.
And I don't like. What are your thoughts on Saquon? Because I'll say this: the
Mhm.
matchup is great. Like the 49ers just lost another linebacker, the guy that's filling in for Fred Warner. He's not going to be playing in this game. So like this defense is so incredibly banged up. The problem with
Yeah,
Saquon is he just really hasn't really gotten there. At all really this year. I guess a couple weeks ago against Washington, he did have 21 DraftKings points in that game. But like he hasn't been somebody that's absolutely killed you, right? He has
right.
really the one game going all the way back to week 8 against the Giants where he scored 33. But other than that, it's been a lot of 15 to 18 DraftKings points type performances. But the matchup is certainly there. And this is still a team that really wants to run the ball at a really high rate. And so, like, do you see yourself wanting to play him at all?
Yeah, I do. I like Philly in general. And like I said, I'll play him on my Jalen Hurts team. I just think that they're two of the biggest catalysts of the offense. You get down there, maybe it's a tush push, maybe it's not. We'll see. They have run some screen action plays to him. This could be like it. I mean, they have a chance to run it back. How often does that happen? And they might just want to stick it to this team. So, like you said, it's one of the better matchups that on paper that he's probably going to get all rest of the playoffs. So at 7K, I do want to have some exposure to him for sure.
I think in terms of leverage, because I don't think Saquon Barkley's ownership is going to be as high. I think Jess Jacobs is going to come in higher than him. I
Oh,
think
for sure.
I think James Cook is going to probably come in higher than him as well. And I think he's a really good leverage play because also keep in mind Lane Johnson is
Yeah.
back for this offensive line, and that is absolutely massive. This offensive line is so much better with Lane Johnson out there. So getting Lane Johnson back, I think, is massive for this offense this weekend. And so
Yeah.
Saquon,
Yeah.
I think that the
Well,
upside is certainly there. Like
yeah.
the and he's getting the less side of the in terms of ownership. I think in terms of the big four guys that are above 7K, he's kind of coming in below them, and so and he's for right now projections wise, he projects just as good as they do, and so I think Saquon is a really strong leverage play off of those guys.
Yeah, he makes for such a great play, Kev, when you think about the state of the slate. You'll already have teams that have Kyron. You'll already have however many teams we want to pencil in, right, in the tournament that you're in. Damn near half the field, right? Or let's just say a third of the field will have Josh Jacobs have already gone. James Cook on the Sunday morning game, like he'll have gone. Etienne will have gone. So like really your only pivot, like is Christian McCaffrey versus Saquon, who are in the same game. Like, you kind of mentioned, like, I don't think people are going to get to the Patriots or Chargers running backs, and there's too much of a drop down for the Pittsburgh running backs. So, yeah, there just might not be a lot of places to go, and not a lot of things that people could do. So, just having Saquon in your back pocket definitely feels good. And even if if you have Christian McCaffrey teams, and you're looking for some leverage, to build around. If you have two pieces or three, look to see if you can get Saquon on there, because there'll be so many others that have gone, and depending on what they do, you could really, that could pay off. Like him getting 25 might be it. Like that might be the winner. He might not need to go out and smash necessarily. So yeah, I like getting to some exposure for sure. Anything else you got at the running back position, Kev, before we talk about wide receiver?
No, I think we talked through it. Like I said, I think my favorite, high price guy is probably going to be Saquon, and then right under him is going to be probably James Cook or ETN. ETN is going to be well less owned, and then in
Yeah.
the middle tier guys, I think Kenneth Gainwell, Ramondre, DeAndre Swift are all guys to take a look at too.
Yeah, ETN definitely worries me. I have not liked playing him in the past, but the one time that I played uh ETN this year, I had a pretty decent team when he caught those 3 touchdowns from Trevor Lawrence, and I was like, I don't even know how I got to this team because I never really played them together, but it worked out. So now I'm always thinking that in the back of my head. But yeah, at 6,600, do I play him on that Jacksonville stack or not? Will be a question of mine all Friday and all Saturday leading into lock. So we'll see what ends up happening. As we talk about the wide receiver position, though, Cav, I mean, where do we start if it's not with these Rams guys? Devontae Adams is finally back into our lives. He's 6,500. This was the running back, like this was the red zone running back guy, as they threw however many times in a row to Devontae Adams. It seemed like every time they got into the red zone, they were trying to run a pattern for him. And not running the ball in the red zone. So definitely provides hesitation for me to load up on Kyron, so to speak. But he's been so good for this offense. I can't see them not trying to get him involved. But the game could be out of reach. Maybe not. Puka at 8,700. I mean, he just is Puka. Like optimizers and projection systems are going to have him at the top. They're going to try and force him in, even on a 6-game slate. Like just figure out the rest because we know what he can do when he hits. But there are just there are a litany of mid range plays that do stand out to me. Parker Washington at 5K, I think even if I'm not playing Trevor Lawrence, just the role that he has in this offense, I have no idea. Like I'm not going to consider myself any type of ball nor anything like that. But like BTJ, I don't know what's going on there. I wish I did. I still think that he has an incredible profile. He's 4,700 only. So like I will I get him on the team? I don't know. But like just seeing that price tag makes it interesting to me. But Parker Washington has carved out surefire role for him. Him and Lawrence have had a solid rapport the back half of the season. So I like getting teams with him first and foremost. I think whether it's AJ Brown or Devonta Smith, I think one of them kind of shapes up for a big game. So I'm always apt to lean on those guys. Nico Collins at only 7,200 seems like a fine one-off play. I don't know how much I'll have of him, but if I have the salary, I'd be willing to get to him, as my lone piece or two piece with the defense, exposure to that late hammer, with the way the Pittsburgh defense has been playing. On the cheap end too, I think Shakir's going to be like, I just never understand this, Kev. Like, we just have to stop making these Buffalo receivers. Like, I get it. Like from a projection system, they're going to pop off the page, but like these guys are just not trustworthy. We cannot trust what the Buffalo Bills are going to be doing in order to make Khalil Shakir. Even at the price tag, like one of the more popular plays on the slate, it's just never going to feel comfortable to me. I can't ever consider playing a chalky Khalil Shakir, but I feel like he will be very popular at only 4,800 this week. And the only way I play him is if I had Josh Allen. Like I'm not going to play him from a one-off position. So other than that, I think it's the value of the Green Bay and Chicago game, and it is value. Like you look at Christian Watson and Jaden Reed both being under 5K. Luther Burden is 4,600. Romeo Dobbs is only 4,400 too. So like these pieces are definitely strong pieces to me. So then it's just a matter of how many you want to get into your lineup. But Kev, what say you at the wide receiver position and where your build's taking you at this point?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's nothing really to be said about Puka. I mean, it's Puka Nakua. Like I already said earlier, the Panthers play cover three at the highest rate in the league, and he absolutely smashes cover three. I would say the last time these two teams faced, he didn't necessarily, he was 6 for 72. In that game, Devontae Adams actually was the one. He scored 2 touchdowns in that game, of course, because that's what Devontae Adams does once they get down to the red zone. Is just score touchdowns. Obviously, and Puka, the last, month of the season, he's just went absolutely nuclear. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that Devontae Adams has been out. But still, this is still a guy that, the guy that is going to see a ton of targets. He is the engine of this offense. I think Devontae Adams, I think is nice leverage to get to. Like I definitely want to have some exposure to him because of his touchdown upside. Like the dude just scores so many touchdowns. I think he's 13 games. He scored 14 touchdowns basically because he didn't play all that much in the last few games. But the dude was just incredible this year, Devontae Adams. But he is more touchdown or bust. Like he's probably not going to give you 7 for 110 or something like that. Like he is much more, once they get inside the red zone, especially with him coming off of, being off for so long. But I still think there's upside there with him in terms of like, I think like I know I said I only want a lot of action on this game or that much, but like a really sneaky mini might actually be like Kenneth Gainwell and Nico Collins because like I talked about, like the Steelers pass defense has not been very good, and they have really struggled to stop explosive plays. Like that has been their biggest issue so far there, this year for that defense. And that's exactly what Nico Collins does. Like he is their downfield threat. And so, like, it wouldn't shock me at all to see Nico Collins, haul in a couple deep touchdowns. Nobody's playing Nico Collins. He is being right now looks like sub 5% ownership right now. I know he's expensive at 7,200, but I do like that little mini stack or just as a late game hammer playing in your flex of Nico Collins if you can afford it. But I do like Nico at $7,200. I do agree with you when it comes to probably Roma Dunze not being as much involved in this offense this weekend. Luther Burden, I think, is interesting, especially at 4,600. I know he really wasn't involved last week, which was kind of frustrating because we were kind of in the chat we kind of talked about him, but I was heavily on him, and of course he really didn't do anything last week. I was super frustrating. You had to have basically Caleb Williams and Colson Loveland. And I had more Luther Burden. I still had Colson Loveland, but I had more triple stacks with Luther Burden, and that didn't really help. Right now, the most popular wide receiver on the slate is Christian Watson. Right now, he's carrying like 60% ownership this weekend, 4,900. And I love Christian Watson. Like, I think he's a great play. Everything we talked about, the Bears, I think, allow like the third most passes of 20 plus yards this year. They allow a ton of explosives. And, when it comes to Christian Watson, that's obviously his role is the downfield threat. We saw, back in week 14, he scored 25 DraftKings points. Christian Watson did, but that was off of 2 touchdowns, 4 catches, 89 yards. And so he could definitely get there. But if he's going to be that popular, if he's going to be 60% owned, like I think, even just going to Romeo Dobbs at 4,400 or Jaden Reed, I think is nice leverage. Because I think that those guys could also get there. Like they spread the ball around enough to where some of these other guys could definitely get there. I'm not saying Christian Watson is a bad play because it's not at all. He's an incredible spot. But at the same time, that is a very hefty price to play on a 6-game, or that is a very massive amount of ownership. I will say, I think Parker Washington is pretty nice leverage. They're right at the same price. He's only 5K. We've seen him absolutely explode over the last month of the season. Dude's averaging 19 DraftKings points per game over the last month. It's absolutely wild. But he has really become kind of the safety blanket for this offense. 9 or more targets in 3 straight games for him, and he's done it against some really good defenses. I mean, he did it against Denver, 6 catches, 145 yards and a score. On the road against Denver, that was a really impressive game from him. But Parker Washington continues to play really well. He's 5K. I know people might want to get to Jacoby Myers. I don't mind Jacoby Myers. I think with Jacoby Myers, though, is like he's kind of cooled off. He hasn't scored double-digit DraftKings points since week 15. He kind of had that one game where he scored 21.3 against Tennessee in week 13, and then it really hasn't done a lot since that point. 14.8, 12.1, and then like I said, 8.6, 8.9, 9.4. I'm not saying that he can't get there, but Parker Washington is probably my favorite play. It really is frustrating with Brian Thomas. I just don't think Brian Thomas is a good fit with Trevor Lawrence and this offense. We've kind of seen it even going back to last year with Brian Thomas Jr. I think I've said this before, but I think Brian Thomas Jr. probably gets traded this offseason and gets moved and goes to a different team. I think that's what happens with him, but I probably can't get there with him. I just think there's way too much volatility with him. And then, the Patriots pass catchers, I don't really like any of them. I guess Stephon Diggs probably would make the most sense, but 6,300, not a good matchup. But the thing is with him, like, I know he's been kind of babied, for a lot of this season, but with some of the injuries they've had recently. We've seen him, utilized a lot more. Like week 16, week 17, saw 16 targets over those 2 games, scored 25 DraftKings points apiece. Like the ceiling is definitely there for him, but $6,300, not necessarily a great matchup though.
Yeah. No, yeah. I agree. I think the New England, pieces are they're kind of the roulette too, right? It's like who's going to be the guy that is going to come along with Drake May this week with the options that they have. I will say that, even though it's that first game and I'm not sure, the Carolina team, will they get to 2 or 3 touchdowns? Who knows? But Teterow McMillan at 6K does have some interest to me. I mean, he just it really is a cog of this offense. I think Jalen Coker's gotten going a little bit, and maybe people chase a little bit from that 2-game slate that we just had not too long ago. But I do think that Tat's a really solid player, and I could see him providing a usable score. I don't know if I necessarily will have a bring back on my Rams stack, but if I were to have a bring back, he would definitely be the guy that I focused on this week.
It's just hard to trust Bryce Young, man. Bryce Young's been so bad this year. Like
Yeah.
they have to. I think they have to move on from him after this offseason. Like this offense can't function with him. And I think Ted McMillan is a awesome wide receiver. Like it's just Bryce Young has been so bad, but like I don't hate it. Like he could definitely like I think there's a possibility, there's a world where he gets there.
Hmm.
Um, but because I mean the target volume is should be there for him. But I don't know. Like at 6K, I think
Yeah,
like it makes it a little bit harder to play. Like I think if he was in like
it
the
definitely
the
does.
lower 5K range, if he was 50, 52, 5,300, like I would probably have more interest. But at 6K, it makes it really tough to get there.
Yeah, and it's like I don't necessarily want the Coker piece just because I'm stacking too, Kev, because it could be Tat, but I don't want to take that shot, right? So it's like, do you spend whatever it is, it's an $1,800 difference. So do you spend up the $1,800 just to have Tat, or do you just because I mean the chances are like if I'm playing Stafford, it's going to be hard for me, Kev, to play Stafford without Puka and Devontae. I'm just going to say it like that. So, um, when you're already gotten 2 wide receiver positions locked up there, sure, we could have the just ultimate game stack and it could pop off, but you really have to make decisions when you're spending all your salary there for 3 positions. Then you add in 6K. It might be tough, but he just was, I think the other team is got a really good shot to score 30. So on the other side, he could definitely, provide a score that would be nice to have. Anything else, Kev, that you got the wide receiver position? We'll move it on to tight end.
I think the only thing would be like the cheap wide receivers, like basically I think Jaden Reed, Jaden Higgins. I think both of those guys are in play. Higgins also
Yeah.
is utilized as a deep threat within the offense. So, we've kind of seen it, him become more involved in the offense recently, and he should have been involved. I mean, the way that they've utilized these wide receivers this year has been kind of frustrating. But, anyways, Jaden Higgins, Jaden Reed, both of them, 41, 4K, both of those guys. I think probably the lowest I want to go because, like there's nobody like really in the 3K range like really stands out. Like sure, Calvin Austin can catch a 50-yard touchdown, but like is that enough, especially on a 6-game slate? It's a lot
Hmm.
different when we're talking about like a 6-game slate versus like a 3-game slate where one guy, if somebody catches a 70-yard touchdown or something like that, yeah, that guy's probably going to be optimal and probably in the winning lineup. Like when on a 6-game slate, I think you're going to need a little bit more than that to probably get there. So there's not a lot in the 3K range at wide receiver that I really love.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say if there was, yeah, name them for sure. If you have anybody who's under, Jaden Reed that is gonna stand out to you. I guess Keyshawn Booty status is up in the air potentially. Um, he's limited, so yeah, I expect him to play. But yeah, I mean, it's tough to get to Kyle Williams there, based on the way offense is going. Like, yeah, there's nothing like Kendrick Bourne, dead. Like Dontavian Wicks would be the one if he were end up able to suit. He's in concussion protocol, but like, yeah, these all just feel really thin. Although
Gabe
I know
Davis saw 7 targets last week.
who is it?
5. Gabe Davis.
Gabe Davis. Yeah, so like I'm not. He might have saw like that might be the most targets that he sees all the rest of the year. I just can't with Buffalo, dude. They got Shavers, they got Cooks, they got Davis, they got Palmer. Like I'm not playing that game with them. So yeah, I just won't get there. The
If
only
I was playing
guy
like 150 lineup or something like that, then
Yeah,
maybe I have
the
a little
the
bit, but
the only guy who I guess would become interesting would be maybe Demarcus Robinson without Pearsall. It's really thin, but like there kind of would be some merit there in a game if you expected points to be had. But yeah, it really feels like the 5K and 4K range is where I'm going to be living outside of Nakua, Collins, and Brown and Adams.
yeah, I think there's a lot better case we had at tight end. I think there's like cheap tight ends that you could probably get to.
Yeah, so let's talk about tight ends quickly, Kev, this week because I'm really having a hard time. Like, I absolutely love Loveland because he just still feels too cheap at 4,400 in this spot. I do like Dallas Goddard as well. I usually will tend to pair him with Jalen Hurts to get that upside. But on my Hurts team, I definitely will have Goddard exposure. Outside of that, I think my next, Brenton Strange on my Trevor Lawrence team. I think I'll definitely go there. 3,900. He's been coming on strong, and then it would probably be like Loveland. I'll play on any team, and then the next guy would be Dalton Kincaid. Dalton Kincaid, I'll play on any team. I'll have him on my Josh Allen team and build. But Dalton Kincaid, we've talked about what this offense looks like with him on and off the field, and when he's out there, Josh Allen just tends to play better. When he's not, we can definitely see it. So I think he makes for a strong play at 3,800. Anytime that we can talk about the quarterback, I think it's always nice to have your quarterback stack with the tight end. I just feel like that definitely pays off dividends when you do so. But yeah, there's not a lot that stands out to me for some of these other positions. I think Dalton Schultz could end up getting some steam and being popular just at the position where he plays, and it being the last game on the slate. People want to have some PMR left. I could see that. Hunter Henry in a revenge game, quote unquote, so to speak, is a little bit interesting to me. But for me, and George Kittle, like, he's 6,200. He's George Kittle. Like, I always love, I love the guy. I love rooting for him. Love watching him. But at 6,200, I just don't know that I'll get there this week. I'd probably play Goddard on the other side, and I'd play, Loveland and Kincaid possibly too before him, because I want to be able to work with salary at different positions. So it probably squeezes them for me. But what are you looking at from the tight end position, Kev? And how are you building from that position this week?
Yeah, I mean, so like I do think like Tyler Higbee's probably in play. Especially in a stack with Stafford, if you want to make it a little bit cheaper to kind of bring down the price of the stack, playing him in there, because I don't think there's like incredible plays at tight end this week. Like I think there's a lot of arguments to be made for a lot of them, where like none of them like I don't think anybody really stands out as like a smash play. You mentioned Kittle, he is so much more expensive than everybody else. Like, can he get there? Sure. Like he's George Kittle. He's obviously,
Yeah.
like, of the tight ends that are remaining here, he's obviously the best tight end that's on here. But at the same time, Philadelphia has been really good against tight ends all year. They do a really good job against them. And Kittle, especially at times, will stay in the block, and stuff like that. So especially with, their issues, especially against this pass rush for the Eagles, like that worries you some with Kittle. And at the cost, like, he has to go nuclear. Like, he has to score probably 25 to 30 DraftKings points for him to probably really kill you. At his cost, because of what it's going to do, because of some of the other high price guys you're probably going to want to get in your lineups. I think that Dalton Schultz, I think, is a good call. It is a good, really again, really good matchup. Again, Pittsburgh's pass defense has been really bad. Dalton Schultz is 4K. Like, he has been really productive, just since week 13, scored 12.5, 21.6, 14.5, 11.3. Like, he could definitely get there. He's not expensive. He's 4K. So if you want to do that, like, I don't mind it. But like I said, Tyler Higbee's 3,200. If you want to get really, spicy, Tommy Tremble. I think you
Hmm.
could look there at 2,800, mainly just a salary saver. But again, with Jatavian Sanders out, for the rest of the season, Tommy Tremble kind of becomes a little bit more interesting of a play. He's 2,800 if you're wanting to get a little bit different. I think you could look there, as a really cheap option. So I think it's Tremble. I think it's Higby. And then from there, like I said, I don't mind Kincaid. I think with Kincaid is though he just doesn't really see like any volume whatsoever. Like he hasn't topped what 5 targets once since week
Mhm.
9. He's dealing with this knee injury. He's loses opportunity to Dawson Knox, and so like it just becomes a really frustrating situation. You also have Jackson Hawes, who's gets involved as well. They just spread the ball around so much, like I said, that it makes it really tough to get there. Kincaid is just certainly good enough. If all of a sudden, if they wanted to attack him and utilize him, like it certainly is within the range of outcomes. But I think there's a lot of volatility with him at 3,800. But he's not a bad play. Now, it comes to Colson Loveland. He's going to carry a lot of ownership because he's coming off 2 monster games in a row. Last week, the monster game, 10 catches, 91 yards and a score. Week before that, 6 for 30, 6 for 94 and a score. Like, dude's been phenomenal. One of the best, the best rookie tight end this year, and probably next year. When you talk about next year, he's going to be a top 5 tight end locked in. But
Yeah.
it is not a necessarily great matchup for him, but still, 4,400. I'm going to have Colson Loveland because the dude's been really good.
Yeah, I mean he's just one of the guys that I'll just click in and just see what I can do with the rest of the lineup because of what his role is in the offense. He's just so reliable. So at 4,400, yeah, I think he makes a ton of sense. This Buffalo team, Kev, it's going to be curious to see how they attack because like they're supposed to be the team, right? They should be the favorite. They're not because of the way season played out, but like they should be without the Chiefs being in the mix and the way that it's gone. Like this has been Josh Allen's time to shine and get to the promised land, and they have a tough matchup there with Jacksonville Buzzsaw, so they might pull out all the stops. I think they do need to get guys like Kincaid involved more and really could be aggressive because of what this game could end up meaning. So that's why I was interested in him. I don't know, Kincaid and Cook and I guess Shakir to a certain extent if people are expecting that at 4,800. It's just tough for me with the wide receivers, but yeah, him too. Like they're gonna need to lean on their best players in this matchup. I feel like to be able to do it, and that's why I think that game really definitely stands out for sure because we could just see it being a back and forth, slugfest on either side of the offensive ball.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely in the range of outcomes.
What anything? Did you talk about your boy Aronde Gadsden? Are we going to talk about any Chargers at all, or you off this guy?
I mean, for this year, I feel like. I mean, next year, I think he's going to be again. I think there's a really bright future for Ronnie Gatson, but I don't know. This passing offense just hasn't been that great for the Chargers. I feel like this is going to be a gross, grinded out type game. Like, could he score a touchdown or two? Certainly. Like, especially once he gets to the red zone, like that. That's definitely the range of outcomes. The last time, he played with Justin Herbert, in that game against Houston, he was targeted 6 times, 32 yards a score. So, like, I mean, him scoring, 12 to 15 DraftKings points at 3,400 could make him optimal. Like, it's definitely possible, but like, I just think there's other guys I'd probably rather get
Yeah, no, definitely. The only other guy, Kev, before we talk defense and then close it up, and appreciate the DJ Nation rocking along with us tonight as we're breaking down the DFS wildcard picks here. DJ Nation podcast powered by the Fantasy Authority. The only other guy, Kev, that I can think could make some sense is you talked about the mini stack in this game with maybe Gainwell and Collins, but could be Pat Fryermuth. In this game since Darnell Washington has been put on IR, they have to lean on these guys. Now, the annoying thing is, right, is that Hayward finds himself, running in touchdowns when they get in close, which is just so annoying. This offense is just really annoying from a DFS perspective, but he still has enough big playmaking ability. Rogers has definitely leaned on him in some big moments. He's only 3,500, and really he's kind of overshadowed Jonnu Smith being in this offense. It just seems like they have more of a rapport, but that would be the only other guy that I would consider here. I think he might project out decently at only 3,500, and it could be a nice play from the late standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, I yeah.
I mean, when there's not no like from the standpoint of Kev, like there's not a lot to like at the position. So, and I really don't want to do the two tight end thing this week. I think there's a lot of good plays at running back and wide receiver to force us to not. But like if you need some salary relief and a guy he's got a pretty decent floor, I guess, and or maybe like his floor is scary, but like the ceiling could really be there if he's able to find the end zone at only 3,500. So when there's not a lot that we like at tight end, I look to try and save that salary and just see what makes sense. He could be part of maybe I'm not saying you need start your lineups with him by any means, but you need salary relief. You could keep him in mind, and if you did try and do a mini from that late game, I would keep him in mind as well too. I know DK Metcalf being back in the mix will kind of change things, but without Darnell Washington being out there, they've been running a lot of 12, and he'll be on the field. So I had to bring him up. He's only 3,500, and I think that he has some merit there. Kev, let's talk defense real quick, and just how much Eagles defense will you have? The way you're talking about, this is Fangio's defense. We know what Fangio is capable of, especially when it comes to playoff performances and getting the most out of his teams. And as many playmakers as there are for the other side for San Francisco, like if there's no Trent Williams out there and Purdy's getting pressured, 2,900 Eagles is looking mighty nice, and probably going to be real popular. I think that the two defenses in the late game definitely have intrigue for me. And then as popular as he's going to be, Jordan Love, that is, I have to have some interest in the Bears kept at 2,500. I mean, they can do the things that we want from a DFS perspective on defense. They do, it's fluky, right? But they can force turnovers, and they, getting to the quarterback is suspect, but they have had a propensity to get pressure onto Jordan Love as well too. So the hope is you can get some sacks there, and maybe get a turnover or two. And you're having a defense against one of the more popular offenses on the slate as leverage. What do you think about defense this week, Kev?
I think the Chargers are too cheap at 2,200.
Yeah,
Kind of talked about them. They have been incredibly good this year.
I like that call.
And so like they're 2,200. I don't know why they're as cheap as they are. Like it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. But so like salary saver, I'm always one to pay down at defense, 2,200. Like they definitely would be the spot that I would look at. But I'll also say like normally on a on a full game slate, like we're talking about defenses that are high price defenses are 4K or 3,900, 3,800. Like the high most expensive defense is 35. So it makes it a lot easier to fit a lot of these.
Yeah,
Like the Texans, for example, against Pittsburgh. Like I said, like I love the Texas defense, and they're 3,300. Like that is they should be 4K in my opinion. Against this Pittsburgh offense. The Rams defense is 3,500. I think they're that's probably underpriced
they
for what
should
they can.
really be. They should be 39, 4K.
Yeah. So like I think both of them you could easily fit in your lineups. And so I think both of those are certainly places you could look. And like I said, I think the cheap defense for me would be the Chargers.
Like that call for the Chargers, Kev, for sure. Especially not having too much interest on the offensive side at this point in time. I do think it's still a great game from a GPP perspective. I just don't know that I'll get there on tighter builds, but yeah, 2,200 for them is way too cheap with what they can do front seven and secondary wise. Kev, let's build a lineup for the people. Even though we're into playoffs, we still got to be able to build these lineups, DJ Nation fam. We do it every week, and it wouldn't be a show without it. So we're gonna build it out. Let me see here as we got different slates, right, all across the board. So let's pull up this 6-game slate, see what that flagship tournament's looking like. So we got the Saturday. That's a Saturday only special. Let's go to the 6-gamer. So let's get in this $18, Kev. $18, 100K to first tournament there, like what we're seeing. A Saturday to Monday special. Let's build out this team. Kev, you started off this week. Start us off in the playoffs, going strong in 2026. How are we doing it?
We go Saquon.
Let's go,
Running back.
Kyron.
Matthew Stafford. Or you know what? No. You're gonna hate it. Jordan Love.
Let's do it. Watson.
Colson Loveland.
And let's do Reed as well. So, and let's just do this, Kev. You take one, I'll take one. We'll just plug in the Chargers at 2,200. That leaves us 79 as it stands right now. We have 7,900 for two positions. So that's if we do Chargers defense. So we can definitely up this, but just wanted to see what we were working with. Who you like, Kev?
Realize I had it on mute. Rookie move.
I was like, he's not even talking through his thoughts.
No, I was like, man, I really like Nico as the and the flex at the late night, the Monday hammer here, but it makes it tough because he's you know what? I'll just plug in James Cook.
All right, so I'm gonna move Barkley to the flex with Cook being in play. And we put Cook. Okay. Okay. Let's do.
So you could, depending on how you want to do it, but you could upgrade the defense if you want.
I was gonna say, do we just do Nico and Texans?
Yeah. I'm good with that.
I'm going with the two, I think. Yeah, let's lock it in for right now. We'll figure it out. But yeah, we got a Jordan Love stack here for the DJ Nation fam. Love the you sending me with this juju before I go to the game on Saturday, Kev. But no worries. We got Jordan Love double stack with Christian Watson and Jaden Reed. Bring back with Colson Loveland. Our running backs are Saquon, Kyron, and James Cook. Like what we did there with the running back position for sure. Have Nico Collins late hammer, I should say, and then the Texans defense also with the late hammer. Lock that into the $18 100K to first, and we will put a bow on the wild card pick breakdown for the DGen Nation fam. Kev, you got any final words for the people? I think even building the team out, it's going to be a fun one. This is definitely a great GPP slate to be able to attack. But what final words you got for the people?
I agree. I think it's a fun slate. Yeah. What's your Super Bowl pick?
I'm not sure if I said it at the beginning of the show or when we were just talking offline, but I do have a Bills and 49ers future, which is looking really tough right now. I think it's wide open. AFC, I'm gonna go. Honestly, Kev, it's crazy, but I think whoever wins this Buffalo Jacksonville game, I think can do it. In the AFC, I'm not sold. I would like to see. I would like to see Matthew Stafford go one more time. I think the Rams have enough. It would be interesting to see that rematch with them and the Eagles. So I'll go Rams and Jaguars, I guess.
I think in the AFC, I feel like it's like the Bills. If they don't go this year, like it's probably time to fire Sean McDermott and
Yeah,
because there's never been a year that like it's been so clear for them to get there. No disrespect to the teams that are in it, but I feel like that this is a team that has the most
yeah,
experience. Josh Allen's obviously been here so many times. I think Josh Allen puts his team on his back, and much like we've seen Patrick Mahomes do in the years past, I think he puts his team on his back and carries them to the Super Bowl. In the NFC, I think it's a little bit more dicey, where I think it can kind of go a lot of different directions. I will say, I think the dark horse in the AFC is the Houston Texans because of how good that defense is. That
hmm
defense has just been phenomenal all year, just shutting down pretty much everybody they face for the most part. And so I think they're kind of the dark horse. Like this could very much be like a defensive type, Super Bowl, this year. But
yeah,
because I think on the NFC side, I think I could talk myself into the Eagles with their defense. That their offense can get things figured out. Seattle, like we don't even talk about them, but obviously they're
yeah,
not playing this weekend. But Seattle's defense has been incredible all year too. And only thing that worries me with them is I feel like Sam Darnold probably turns back into a pumpkin.
yep,
And if they face the wrong matchup, there's where Seattle would get knocked out. But I think it comes down to the Rams, the Eagles, and the NFC. I know the Rams are the real trendy pick. Everybody's picking the Rams. I think a Rams Bills Super Bowl would be awesome. It'd be a lot of fun to watch.
that'd be great.
But I'll go with the Bills and Eagles. I think.
Those Eagles, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't think there's any way McDermott comes back if they lose this game. If they could make it to the championship, but it's on a tough loss, it would be hard. But it depends how it shapes out. But I think a wild card round for sure gets him out. Divisional round most likely puts him on the hot seat yet again for sure. Championship game might save him. And a Super Bowl loss, as painful as that would be for Buffalo Bills fans to endure, but don't know how you fire a coach who goes to the Super Bowl. So, yeah, it'll be interesting for that. But yeah, I'm excited for these games though. I feel like it is wide open, and we're in for a fun treat. And DJ Nation fam, you guys got us. You got us all postseason long. So we're going to be breaking down the divisional round next week, as well as the championship weekend the following. We love it from the standpoint of how many slates that we still get. And then we haven't talked about it yet, but we're going to break down Super Bowl showdown, or we'll leave it at championship week.
Yeah, we usually do the Super Bowl. With all the stuff that's going on with it. I didn't, even just this weekend, like, I'll definitely going to play the 2-game slate on Saturday. I'm definitely going to play the 3-game slate on Sunday, and I'm also going to play all the showdown slates on the Saturday night game, the Sunday night game, and the Monday night
I
game.
love
Like,
it.
that's showdown has been really good to me this year.
Yeah.
So I love playing showdown, and so I know we don't ever really talk about it, but
Showdown's
showdown.
definitely it's still like untapped, not untapped, I shouldn't say that, but like there's still a lot to uncover there with Showdown from at least from an NFL perspective. I feel like we definitely, the main slate just gets so much love. But these Showdown slates, the more that we people have gotten into a rhythm about how showdown slates are put together and the strategy behind them and everything like that. And honestly, like we've gotten way more exciting island games to be able to play, showdown. It used to kind of just be the afterthought because, that Thursday game was kind of a throwaway. The Sunday night game was for sure marquee, and Monday night to a certain extent at the beginning of the season. But then as the season goes on and injuries, you never know what you're going to get. But as we get more like slates, like Black Friday slate and, these Saturday football slates and things like that, some of the showdown games have been really more exciting. So that definitely might be one we have to explore, Kev, with the people.
Yeah, just over the last 3 weeks, I've finished top 5 in 3 showdown slates. So, finished second in one, finished third in another. So, like, yeah, like showdown's been good to me. And the
There
other
you
one
go.
was on the short slate on a Saturday, 2-game slate that I got second in too. So, yeah, it's been the short slates and the showdown slates have been really good to me. The main slate, not as much. I've had
Keep
some good
going.
lineups, but nothing anywhere, like a huge sweat. But it's all been come from showdown or the short slates.
All it takes is one, Kev, and that's why we do it. We love to be able to have an opportunity to do these sweats, and we hope that the DJ Nation fam has a couple. You will have a couple with the 6-gamer slate through 3 days, so you definitely have a lot more avenues to go. I definitely have seen the contest pools that Saturday. The Saturday contest pools are looking really enticing. So that DraftKings does this for a reason, or the other sites do it too for a reason, but. Definitely got to be locked in. Gonna be a fun one. I'll be at that Green Bay Bears game, and probably my mood will be dependent on how that outcome shapes out. Could be one of the more, it probably will go be a game for history one way or the other. But it could really be, a solid one for us Bears fans here in Chicago to be able to add to the hopper. But digress. It's gonna be a fun slate. Wildcard weekend. It's always the wildcard madness is just so much fun. This is the biggest slate that we're gonna have the whole rest of the year. So make sure you take advantage of it. Again, DJ Nation podcast, guys. We're powered by the Fantasy Authority at FF_authority is where you can follow us on Twitter and X. For the Godfather himself, Kevin Steele at Fantasy Route 13 is where you can find him on Twitter and X. Myself, Ryan Williams, you can find me on Twitter and X at Ryan_Alexander_W. We'll catch you guys next weekend for the divisional round. Until then, you already know what to do. Get this money. Peace.